Hello, everybody out there, whoever's listening to this. My name is Josh, and who's this lovely gentleman over on the other side of the world?
Hello, world. I'm Ray.
Ray, how long have we known each other?
I think what 4 years now? 4 or 5? 4.
Probably 4, right?
Sophomore year of college. Pretty much, yeah. First semester of sophomore year. Sophomore year was 2014. 4 years, about to be 5.
Jeez. And something else interesting also is that we could consider this an international podcast, considering that I'm on the East Coast, and you're in Malaysia.
God damn it! Not in Malaysia. But yes, no, not in Malaysia. Malaysia is pretty much our sworn enemy. Not sworn enemy. It's more of a brotherly rivalry between Indonesia and Malaysia. I guess I should mention that I'm in Indonesia, not Malaysia.
Right, Indonesia.
Mm-hmm.
So Ray, what have you been playing recently? Something that we share in common, and probably one of the reasons that we've known each other for a few years now is that we're both a bit of gamers, even though I don't especially like that
Tag.
that title for myself, but that gamer tag for myself.
I've actually, I don't know, I've never. Obviously, I like playing games, but the tag of gamer, I don't know. I just felt like that was never a tag that suited me, and not because of like the meanings behind it, but I just sort of always associated gamers with kind of I guess people who are like constantly playing like RPGs or
right. So
MMOs.
basically, me.
I guess, yeah. Because I don't know. I've never been into those kind of games.
To be fair, like you like The Witcher 3, and that's an RPG through and through.
Yeah, but that was basically the first RPG I really got into, I guess.
Right.
Like, I see people make arguments all the time, like, "Oh, Last of Us is an RPG," and I'm like, I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, like I don't know how qualified I am to really deduce all of this, but like RPG role playing game.
Yeah.
Technically, you are role playing in The Last of Us, right? You're
technically
role playing is
every game. You're kind of role playing, but I guess when it comes to role playing, I always imagine it as you're customizing your character. You're constantly like you're upgrading gear or
right.
Choosing your own name, things like that.
Yeah, there's much more of an involved process in creating the character that you're playing, whereas these narrative driven games are sort of, hey, you're Joel, and we're going to let you
this is Joel's story. You're
move ladders and move pallets for the next couple hours.
Yeah. Whereas The Witcher is, I guess it's definitely
it's like half and half.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, because you do decide what Geralt's story is. Like,
right.
It's linear, but not completely.
Mm-hmm. And the fact that you do choose his equipment, you do level up the different spells.
Right. You choose what potions you want before whatever sort of combat and things like that. Cut his hair, whatever.
But anyway, okay, let's get back on track. So Ray, what have you been playing recently?
So as right now, I am playing God of War, because I want to see why it won Game of the Year. Because
I want to see why.
Well, and not because I'm coming into it like, no, it shouldn't have won, because I haven't played it. All I've heard about it are good things. I've never played any of the first games, so I wanted to play the game.
And this is like the completely wrong game to get into this series with, because it's so different.
Probably, yeah. But story-wise, I've read up on all the games, because I want to go into it knowing what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think the main reason why I'm playing it, I guess, is to see how it beat Red Dead 2. Because
which is another game you've been playing.
Yeah, I played that twice already.
Oh, you already beat it twice.
Twice. I beat it twice.
My God.
In like a month and a half.
It's like The Witcher all over again.
Nah, The Witcher was way more spread out. The Witcher, I beat, I think, 3 times in the space of 2.5 years.
Once a year. It's a bit of an annual tradition.
Yeah, it was basically a once a year thing. But I played Red Dead, completely fell in love with the game. I thought it was amazing. I constantly find myself like thinking about the game. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, it sounds like you're talking about a love interest, man. I just, at random times of the day, I find myself thinking about it.
No, it's just I'm thinking about the story, I'm thinking about the music behind it, thinking about the voice acting. I just felt like it was a perfect game in a way.
Perfect.
Well, obviously not perfect. Every game's gonna have glitches and probably some things that are kind of annoying. But I was talking to you before about how I kind of want to do a video essay about it. But basically because since I've played single player games or got back into single player games, there have been 3 games that once I finished, I sort of had this. I guess the best way to put it is like that sort of emptiness you feel when you complete something you really liked, TV show, whatever. So I've had that 3 times with 3 games, when it comes to games at least. First one was Last of Us, and then it was Witcher 3, and now Red Dead 2.
Did you play Red Dead 1, by the way?
So Red Dead 1, I played, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago during summer break. I was home and I was looking for a game to play, and I knew my brother had Red Dead for a while, so I figured I'd give it a go. Played it, liked it, but I had to go back to school soon, so I never actually finished it. Because it was on my brother's PS3.
I see.
So once I left Indonesia to go back to States, obviously I couldn't play the game.
Do you think you'll go back and play it now?
I think so, especially if they remaster it and put it on PS4.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if they will do that. I don't know. I kind of feel like they won't.
I hope they do. There have been like rumors, like a couple people went to a couple spots on the map, and then they sort of heard audio that sounded like audio from the first game. So they think they're reintegrating maybe like a DLC or something. But
I mean, they could just be reusing assets.
That's what the most people seem to think is like, oh, this is probably the same foundation of a game as the first one, so some things are going to slip in by accident.
I mean, not even just like by accident. I know a lot of games sort of reuse sound effects and different things.
Right, yeah. But yeah, and before that, I was playing Spider-Man.
Right, yeah, the new Spider-Man for PS4.
Also really enjoyed that. I was also very impressed by the voice acting in that game. But once I played Red Dead, I kind of forgot about Spider-Man.
Forgot all about it.
I finished it. I had a few months before I actually went and played Red Dead, because I finished. When did Spider-Man come out? It was like September?
Somewhere around there.
I think I got it around September, played it, and then November I went and got Red Dead. So, a couple months, and then once I played Red Dead, it was all about Red Dead 2.
Well, yeah, I noticed that Spider-Man wasn't in those 3 games that made you feel empty inside afterwards.
No, Spider-Man was kind of different. It was more like a sort of what would be the way to describe it? It's kind of like I was happy that they got the game right. It incorporated the old Spider-Man games. It was a cool story, and I really liked what they did with this version of Peter Parker. So
right.
no, not really an emptiness thing.
And was Miles Morales involved in all with the new Spider-Man or no? Because I know like that animated movie came out recently,
which is also really good, by the way.
I was just watching like a video on it today that people seem to really like it.
Yeah.
I tend to shy away from sort of cartoony things, especially the whole Spider Ham thing.
right. Actually,
but
that's
maybe I'll take a look.
That's how I felt at first, but I wanted to watch it because honestly, you come in with low expectations, kind of nowadays with Sony producing the movie. So I guess maybe that makes the film even better because you come in with such low expectations, it becomes good. It's even better. But no, that movie was really good, and yeah, Miles was part of the PS4 game. The movie probably did it better though.
Right.
Integrating Miles' story. Well, the movie is Miles' story, whereas the game is Peter's story.
But yeah, like in my impression, at least I got from the movie, was that it was Miles' story, and then like sort of the older Spider-Man was like mentoring him or whatever.
Yeah. There's a bit of that in the game too. But definitely, well, the game is still Peter's story, and the next game I'm sure will integrate him more with Miles.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't even thought about that. I wonder if they're working on another one.
Oh yeah, so apparently the whole thing is that Spider-Man PS4 is supposed to be the Iron Man of the Marvel games.
Oh God, are we gonna have a cinematic universe of Marvel games?
Yeah, that's the idea. Because in the game you have mentions of the Avengers. You have Doctor Strange's Sanctorium. Can't remember exactly.
I don't know. I don't know if Marvel has a special word named Sanctorium, but Sanctum is a word.
Sanctum is a word, but I feel like it's a weird. Anyway, there are mentions of the Avengers. There are mentions of Doctor Strange. Mentions of Black Panther and everything like that. So I think there is going to be a Marvel gaming universe, an MGU.
Do you think there could be a good Black Panther game?
A good Black Panther game.
For some reason, I feel like there couldn't be.
It's kind of tough with superheroes. It doesn't work for all of them.
It's hard to like establish that because like Spider-Man has had this established video game legacy where you sort of know how it's going to go. You're going to swing around the city and all that. But like with something like Black Panther, I feel like it would be hard to create a game that wasn't just a movie game, you know?
Right. I think that was there were a lot of criticisms for the first Marvel games for the MCU when they had the Captain America game and the Iron Man game. They were nothing more but those
stuff that I never even hear about.
Yeah, I didn't even know they existed.
I think I knew that the Iron Man games existed, but only because I heard people saying that they were bad.
Right. So yeah, I don't know. Black Panther, that'd be tough. Because wasn't there huge talk about a Superman game, and I feel like that all that talk has died down.
I don't remember hearing it. I'm sure there was though. I mean, I'm just not so in touch with all that, but
I think
I mean, for all I know, there could have been a Black Panther game, and I just don't know about it.
No, Black Panther, I don't think there is a game. But I know that once the Arkham series was done, they were talking about doing a Superman game. But I haven't really heard anything since then. But again, is Superman a character that they could do a decent game on?
Right, yeah. I feel like you would have the same problem as you would with Black Panther, where it's just like, what precedent do you have except like you had like Superman 64, which is pretty notoriously bad. I don't know. That's interesting to think about. I never really thought about superhero games like that, where Spider-Man sort of has this in, and the other ones are just sort of like, how the hell do we do this?
Right. Yeah.
Because like obviously Superman is really popular, probably on par or higher. Probably it's got to be higher in popularity than Spider-Man. and Black Panther's newly quite popular as well, and yet they can't really tap into that market just because, like, how would you?
Right. Yeah. I think I saw someone make an argument that if there was going to be another superhero game, one that would be really interesting is Doctor Strange. Because you could take on those RPG elements where he picks up a magical item and he can have different abilities and things like that, travel different worlds and all that.
Well, yeah, because I don't know the character of Doctor Strange too much, but he seems more like he has to sort of be resourceful as compared to these other superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that sort of lends itself more to gameplay. I mean, the only way you can really do a Superman game is that, like, you'd either have to have him like sapped of his powers, or you would just eternally feel like, okay, well, why am I just not destroying everything?
Yeah, exactly. It's that age old thing where it's just like he's too strong, kind of.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been a problem in movies, and that's always been a problem with pretty much everything involved with any superhero, honestly.
Yeah. Whereas, when you have characters like Spider-Man and I guess Batman, when it comes to the movies, Batman's probably the most popular one. It's all about the gadgets and
well, yeah, and that's interesting to sort of draw a parallel between, like, well, I don't know, does Doctor Strange use gadgets?
Well, in the movies, he's got different magical powers, and he has, I guess, he's got for Avengers Infinity War, he's got the I forget what it's called, the necklace with the time stone. So things like that.
Is that an Infinity Stone?
Yeah, it's one of the Infinity Stones.
This is totally not my world. So this is not my cinematic universe. So I have no idea about this stuff.
But I feel like with Doctor Strange, you could have a game where he finds magical items in that sort of way,
or he gets like abilities and stuff, and that's pretty standard gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, exactly. And with Spider-Man and Batman, they get upgrades to their gear, and that's sort of how that mechanic works for their games. It's just how do you...
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because there's been a million, well, not a million, but there's been quite a few Batman games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still remember playing the Batman game that was based off was it Batman Forever that had Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yeah. I still remember playing that game on PS2, PS1. I can't remember exactly.
There's like a lot of old Batman. I remember I had also, I think that was when Batman and Robin had nipples on their outfits, or was that a different movie?
I think the nipples were... I think that was that movie. I always confuse it with... I'm not sure if Val Kilmer and George Clooney both had the nipples on their shirts, on their costumes, but
it was Clooney for the Mr. Freeze one, right?
Was it Clooney? Let me Google.
We can Google. I think it was. I don't know. I wasn't planning to have a conversation about old Batman movies, but yeah. But I remember I had a it was like a Game Boy. I think it was an original game. It was either original Game Boy or Game Boy Color game. That was a Batman game, and I don't know if it was just because I was a kid or if the design was just so bad, but I never made it past the first area. Not because it was difficult or anything. It's just like you had no idea what to do.
I think I did the same thing with the Batman Forever game. And yes, it was George Clooney that had Dr. Freeze, Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, I felt like that because I think I've seen some clips from that movie recently.
Yeah, so
they had to like ice skate and stuff. It was all corny.
They also had a Bat credit card. I don't know if you remember that part.
Oh God.
But in that game, I remember getting out of the Bat Cave in the Batmobile and sort of just driving around, and that's all I'd do in that game. That was literally all I did, and then I would just turn off the PlayStation and play something else.
I mean, hey, that's a better experience than the Game Boy game. Although that does sort of bring up an interesting topic. Do you remember your earliest gaming memory?
Ooh, earliest gaming memory.
Or, maybe if it's not the earliest, like the most poignant.
I'm trying to think. I remember that when I used to go visit my aunt in Jersey, she had a Nintendo, and she had the cartridge for like there were a couple games. This is probably the earliest one. She had Mortal Kombat Classic, and she had I forget the name of it, but it was a you were a newspaper boy and you had to throw newspapers into mailboxes.
Paperboy?
Is that's probably what it's called? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, newspaper boy.
Paperboy. Let me see.
And that's a classic game.
Yeah, Paperboy. Yeah. And yeah, you can. I remember. I remembered that game suddenly one night in high school, and I found it, and I could just play it on my laptop now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a ton of online versions. I'm sure you can emulate it really easy.
Yeah. So that was probably my earliest memory. Earliest memory of playing games at home, it was probably playing the Lion King game on PS1.
Lion King game on PS1?
Yeah, there was a Lion King game.
Was it any good?
I mean, I liked it, but...
Right, well, you just like Lion King.
I like Lion King. What about you? What was your earliest one?
I'm trying to think. I mean, a lot of times I forget how sort of pervasive gaming is and has been in my life, that I sort of forget all the details. But let me think. But yeah, I think we had a very different experience, especially early on with games, because like we were talking about earlier, I'm sort of an RPG guy, and I think that's more so my memory of early gaming is I remember for my ninth birthday, I got a computer, and so basically from that point on, it was PC gaming. Actually, I do remember even before I had my own computer, some of my earliest memories were probably like playing Counter-Strike. Which is interesting because, Counter-Strike Source. That's definitely not like the first game I played, but that's something that's sort of iconic for like my early gaming memories because
right.
I think Counter-Strike was like the first time I ever saw nudity online. Ooh. Because like you could like customize your tags, so you could like tag the walls or whatever in the map you're in. Oh, and so like
yeah,
that,
I remember.
That was, I think, the first time online. I think that was before the point where I got my own PC, or else I would just be looking that stuff up. Like, but yeah, I think that was the first time I ever saw that stuff, and it was crazy because I'm like, not only is this an awesome game, but there's also porn. This is fantastic. But it was also weird because it was a family computer, and so I had to sort of like not be looking at that shit when people were walking by. But then and there was some weird stuff too. Like it wasn't even just like regular, like just like naked women. It was also like some anime stuff that, like, I don't know, playing Counter-Strike probably screwed me up for life. But
actually, yeah, that was I was gonna wonder, was it animated or real?
It was a mix of both. Okay. The stuff that was like anime was just like that was a pretty rough introduction to all that. But I won't go into the details of it. But so it was funny because it was in a family room, and so like, okay, like I had to hide that shit. And then it wasn't until years later that I realized that, I think I might have told you this story before, I can't remember, but in Counter-Strike, or at least that's how it used to be, when you would look at these tags, it would save the thumbnail to your computer. and I didn't know that.
No, I don't think I heard
And
the story.
so nothing really came of it, but I realized years later. So basically, what that meant was that on that computer, there were like these thousands of thumbnails of me looking at like random naked women and like anime. Oh my god! Somewhere on that old computer was just all these saved images without me even knowing about it.
Was it ever found by anyone?
I don't think so.
All right.
At least nobody ever said anything. But it was just like one of those things you realize years later, and you're like retroactively embarrassed. Yeah. Go ahead. You were saying something?
No, I was just gonna say I think I remember playing that game, but I definitely played it on like maybe it wasn't that specific game, but I had a Counter-Strike on like PS2. I think I can't remember exactly, but what me and my friends used to do in middle school was we spent our lunchtimes playing Counter-Strike together.
How would you do it during lunchtime?
Well, lunchtime was we had 45 minutes, so we just go into our homeroom and just play on our laptops.
Oh, I see. Because you had your computers.
Yeah.
Okay, I just looked it up.
No,
so
not a PS.
Counter-Strike Source came out in 2004, so that's definitely not like my earliest gaming memory.
Right.
But yeah, that's probably the most iconic. I mean, as a kid, I played a lot of RPGs, a lot of MMOs, and then also like early on, I was playing stuff like Neopets. That's like a classic.
I remember Neopets.
Classic early childhood experience. Like I did all that shit. I did Neopets. I did Gaia Online. I can't remember what else, but those sort of browser-based things.
Right. I don't know what it is about. I guess I don't think I ever had the patience for an RPG as a kid.
Right.
Because I remember RuneScape was huge in my school for a while.
Oh yeah, people liked RuneScape a lot.
Yeah, and
people still do.
Yeah, I remember making a character, and then he had like nothing on him. He had no swords or whatever, and I was just like, "What the fuck?" And I was just like, "Oh, that's it. I'm not playing that anymore."
Oh, this is lame. I have to develop my character.
Yeah, I could never get into it. And then there was obviously a period in high school where basically the only game I ever really played was FIFA. And I regret those years pretty badly now.
I was about to say, so what's the difference now? Well, the difference now is that you also play Red Dead 2.
So now, well, the difference now is I actually just recently deleted all the FIFA from my PS.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just like, well, I'm not planning to get the new game. I don't really like playing the old game anymore.
All right.
But so the thing with The Last of Us, that was like the first single player game in that FIFA time that I really like latched onto and really enjoyed, and I was just like, oh, it kind of reminded me what good games were instead of FIFA.
Although I'm sure you would probably say that FIFA is a good game, right?
It's.
Oh, really?
It's. I mean, I think. When I started playing, I mean, I always did play like a soccer game to accompany other games I played, but I think in high school.
I mean, right now you're playing Football Manager, right?
Yeah, that's different though.
Right this minute?
No, not right this minute, because you just all you hear me do is click away. But I think it was like FIFA 13 or 12 where I kind of stopped playing other games. No, they're fun games. I mean, the thing about sports games now is just not now. I mean, always. Sports games are just repetitive. You kind of get at some point you've done everything you possibly could do out of it.
Right.
At least with Football Manager, I can say that what I like to do is I like to build a club from being a small club to a big club.
Yeah.
And so to retain that success. But on FIFA, it's you're playing a soccer game, playing a game of soccer, and you kind of exhaust everything you can do. I mean, I guess they try to make it more interesting with the journey with Alex Hunter.
Right. Alex Hunter.
It's Alex, mate. But it's the journey's not that interesting.
Wait, what's the friend's name in that campaign?
Gareth Walker.
Oh my god.
He's such a piece of shit. For no reason other than that's what the story says.
Yeah, they needed conflict.
Right.
Did you make up with him in the end? I can't remember.
In the first,
or you could choose to, or something.
You could choose to. So in the journey, so the whole point is you start at the same club with Gareth, right? And then he starts to think he's bigger than the team or whatever. So the team sells him to the rivals. Of course, they have to sell him to the rivals.
Yeah.
And you'll meet him later in a cup final. If you've made it, I think. I think you kind of have to make it. Like, if you're losing the game and you'll be subbed out so that the game can be saved.
Right.
I'm not 100% sure, but there were definitely times when I was playing the journey, and if I was losing in those knockout games, they'd take me off, and then it would be like the game would be saved. It would be
it's basically it's forcing you to move on through the story.
Right. Anyway, so you get to the final. Winner. So if you win, you see Gareth. He's like he's mourning the loss of the game. And you can go up to him, you can offer to help him up, or you can do the dick move, which I don't know what it is, but I assume it's
spit in his face.
Just kick him. It's Alex, mate.
Give him the fucking Zidane headbutt.
Yeah.
Was that Zidane?
The headbutt? Yeah, it was him. Yeah, so it's just, I mean, I guess you can't really expect too much story-wise from a FIFA game.
Right, yeah, I mean, they tried to do like a unique thing, I guess.
Yeah.
By having the storyline.
I guess it's interesting enough, but I guess the one annoying thing is, from what I'm reading, is that no matter what you do in your first 2 years, so on FIFA 17 and 18, on 19 you end up at one team. You end up at Real Madrid. That's the whole point of the journey, right, is that you end up at Real Madrid. Now,
yeah, it's a linear story.
Right. The previous year, one of the options for teams you could pick was one of Real Madrid's rivals, which is Atletico Madrid. So a lot of people are like, man, I chose Atletico and now I have to play for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, that must be a slap in the face for people who don't like the team.
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, that's FIFA. I mean, the game is kind of... I mean, I guess you can kind of pin it on EA.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, that's interesting because, I mean, there's tons of types of games, but generally, like, there's two types of games where it's sort of, like, instance-based and then, like, sort of longer-running thing. So, like, right, I could never really get into sports games. Well, first of all, because I'm not a huge fan of sports in general. I don't really like to watch them, but could never really get into sports games, could never really get into fighting games, because it's like, okay, you play that match,
right,
and then you're done, and then you can do the same thing again,
right.
And of course, there's always randomness, and there's a lot of skill involved. A lot of times, more direct skill than is involved in something that's like an RPG or something where I don't know. At the end of the day, it is all linear anyway. But I don't know. I just never really got too much appeal out of something that was so temporary.
Yeah. I guess part of the appeal for me was I had my group of friends. We're all soccer fans.
Well, yeah, competition is the key, right?
Yeah. So, and that was the whole thing in school. And me and my friends would be like, "Oh, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best," and we'd all go in someone's house and we'd play, and then that would be that. And then I guess playing on your own was practice.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, it was all about Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it too, because I wonder if that sort of goes with, because like I would sort of consider myself more of a uh, solitary gamer,
Right.
in that like even when I was playing MMOs, a lot of times I would just play by myself,
You weren't
or
clanning up.
maybe with like, yeah, or maybe like with one other person. Like
Mm-hmm.
I I never liked joining guilds.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I didn't, a lot of times I didn't really end up doing like raid content or anything like that, just because I wasn't in a big group.
Right.
I think there's a lot of reasons for that, but I think that might be part of why I never gravitated towards stuff like sports games or fighting games, because in order to fully enjoy those, I think you need to be part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sort of like how I am reluctant to say like, oh, I'm a gamer. Uh, I'm also reluctant to sort of associate myself with a gaming community,
Right.
just because then you have to associate with people. And when you have to do that, it's sort of, I don't know, it sort of gets in the way of the game for me.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I get what you mean, but I guess in a way, my definition of gamer, I guess you would fall under that category because of the games you play.
Right.
Whereas
So
I
there's
play.
like pasty nerds like me who want to play RPGs alone in their room.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess the thing is I don't consider someone who plays FIFA and only FIFA a gamer. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Although that's when it starts getting a little silly, because like then when you start saying who is a gamer and who is not, you're sort of like, I don't know. That's
right.
why I don't like it in general. Is like the whole idea of creating community with it is like, okay, you're alienating people who are outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, but yeah, there is, gaming is weird. I mean, it's like everything, but gaming is weird in that it can be so different. Like just saying you're a gamer, you could be, you know, somebody who like vehemently follows an MMO, or you could be someone who, plays a game on their phone now. People consider people who play phone games to be gamers somewhat. I mean, a lot of people don't actually think that, but companies are sort of trying to push that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it means many different things.
Yeah, it can be made. It's just I guess just one of those things I had just had in my head. I'm like, I mean, obviously you're playing games, and
Right.
it's just I don't know. I guess because of the description people have had for gamers for a long time, I feel
Right.
like
Yeah.
it's typically been associated with more RPG, MMO kind of games.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I think that's probably changing now, just because like there's just so much now.
yeah,
I was looking at Steam today, at the Steam sales and whatnot, and I was just thinking like, man, there are so many games and so many that I'm never going to play. I mean, there's so many in my library alone that I'm never going to play.
yeah. When I was
So
looking through your library, at some point, like there weren't any achievements.
yeah, just stuff I've never touched.
Yeah, some of them look pretty old, like the game itself.
Oh yeah, that's another thing too. Is like I'll grab like, because there's always like bundles or whatever for like, like Humble Bundle will do stuff or stuff like that, where like you can get a bunch of games for like $1,
Right.
or like different stores will do like different promotions and you'll just get free games,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I probably will never even want to play, but I'm like, well, it's free, so let me grab that.
One day you could be bored and just be like, yeah, play this game.
The funny thing is like that hardly ever happens to me, which is sort of what I was trying to like, I don't know. I think as I've gotten older, I'm less likely to just like pick up a random game that's not something that I know, or like is just like something I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. Because
I guess because I consider my time more valuable now, even though, I mean, I'll say that externally, but I'll still waste a ton of time like playing one game. Like, but at the end of the day, like I don't know. The experience of playing a bad game is just like so it's like you're so unwilling to try out new stuff just because you don't want to deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, I've also had experiences where I've like playing a game that that's well received, but maybe because the start's too slow, I kind of just I just give up. Like what was that game I was telling you about a few months ago that you tried as well?
I don't know.
Kingdom Come.
A few months ago. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I heard great things about the game. It had the typical things that I liked in terms of story and dialogue choices and things like that. But it just kind of took a while for the game to really get going. And then you told me about one of the missions where he has to drop all his gear and become a monk or some shit.
Yes.
And then I was just like, nah, fuck that. I'm not playing this game.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Is like, well, that's another thing too. And speaking of time, I want to talk a little bit more about Kingdom Come, but just like in time in general, like, well, just in general, I feel like a lot of RPG or in general games can take up so much of your time now that I'm hesitant to get into them just because I know it's going to be such a time investment if I do want to complete it. So Kingdom Come, I have mixed feelings on as a game, but in fact, I would go so far as to say like I don't really like it, but at the same time, I still have like 50 hours on it.
Oh yeah, I didn't get anywhere near that.
So like, and I maybe got like halfway through the story. I don't know exactly where, but I'd say about halfway. So like, it's just such a time sink. And that's the weird thing about games is like, yeah, you weren't feeling it. A lot of me enjoying a game just has to do with like this imperceptible feeling that I get from it, where like sometimes games will just feel off to me. And no matter like how much good design or, story or whatever went into it, I just don't feel it. And so like, you just don't want to play it.
Right. I think
that must be terrible for developers as well.
Yeah. I think I'm a bit of the same way because when I first got The Witcher, because I borrowed it from my brother-in-law, he came to me highly recommended. He loved the game. It's probably his second favorite now because he's a big Final Fantasy fan. I played it for a while, and then I got up to him, and again, I was not familiar. Like, I wasn't really upgrading my gear. I wasn't really looking for new armor and upgrading my abilities and things like that. And there's this one mission where these, what were they? Rot fiends, I think. They just kept killing me and just killing me over and over. And I was just like, no, I'm not doing this. So I stopped playing. And the other game I was playing at the time was the Mad Max game. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
So I was playing that. And that game kind of got boring. It's fun enough, but it's just repetitive.
I think me and my brother got it and maybe put an hour into it. I never played it again.
I put a decent amount into it. But it just at some point I was just like, oh, you know what? The story's not that interesting. It's kind of repetitive. It just kind of reminds me a lot of the Arkham series. So I was done with Mad Max, and then I was just like, you know what? Let me play The Witcher. I'm gonna get through that level at least.
Yeah.
So I went through that level, got through it, and then the story, like everything, finally kind of hooked me. And now, 3 years later, I have 7 of the 8 books, read 7 of the 8 books, played all 3 of the games, and now maybe not as eager as before, but waiting for the new TV show.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother thing.
I feel like a lot of our
just as a whole,
that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that you go on tangents forever. But to go on a small tangent here, did you hear about? I don't know how recently it was, but did you hear about the author of the Witcher books suing CD Projekt Red
for what? 16? No, it was like 16 million in whatever currency they used to use in Poland or whatever.
No, I think it is 16 million US.
Oh, is it 16 million? Okay.
I think it was. I think yeah, it was a whole bunch in Polish whatever, but I think it was 16 million US.
Right.
And like I'm not well versed in the law, and especially Polish copyright law, because that's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
They are Polish, right?
Yeah. The company is Polish. He's Polish. Yeah, it's all Polish, I think.
We're all Polish.
Kurwa.
A little thing for the international listeners. But yeah, so I just thought that was interesting because the way I was seeing it was he was just upset that basically he accepted a lump sum at the beginning because he thought the games would fail.
Yeah.
When in reality, if he had gone with, a percentage based deal, then he would have been doing fine. And so, but that's the weird thing is I think I was watching a video on it, and I think there is something in Polish law for like, your intellectual property and whatnot is like, if you can prove that it was not a fair deal or whatever, you can have compensation. I don't really know exactly what it is, but I just think that's so funny to think that like this dude is just like watching the success of this, and he's just like, man, I fucked up, but I don't want to take responsibility for the gamble that I took.
Right.
Let me just sue these developers who are just like doing their thing.
Actually, this would be a good segue. But yeah, from what I've read and what I've seen in interviews, he seems pretty arrogant.
That's the impression I got, but I mean, obviously I don't know him.
Like, I love the books and I love the games, but I think the general consensus is that The Witcher would be nowhere near as famous without the games.
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, I think in Poland they're actually like they're pretty famous books.
Yeah.
But
that's Poland.
He wouldn't have nearly as much attention on these on the story if it wasn't for CD Projekt Red.
I mean, I think you were saying, right, that you bought the books because of the games.
I bought yeah, exactly. I wanted to know the lore behind it. I wanted to know the story behind it. I wanted to get to know. I wanted more of these characters, which is kind of how I feel about Red Dead.
You're gonna have to get the Red Dead books.
Oh man!
They could even have that. And I don't even know about it, but I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think Red Dead's all based on that first game, Red Dead Revolver.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it all just kind of grew from there. I'm not sure.
Big old Western fantasy.
Yeah, but yeah, I went to go get these books because of the games, and I feel like the games do the books real justice.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Sapkowski believes that his media is superior to the games.
Yeah, that was one of the things that was sort of annoying me about the article I read was the impression that he gave off was that I think he sort of backtracked on this statement a little bit, but he was basically saying that like he didn't recognize games as like an art medium, basically.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things. And
I mean, art is a weird thing. Like I think it's sort of been established now. I know like a little while ago there was a big push for like video games are art.
Right.
I don't really care about that. I don't give a shit what other people think is art or not. Like I'll enjoy what I want to enjoy, and that's fine.
Definitely is more accepted now, that notion.
Yes. But I think the fact that he was saying like he doesn't really see them as a storytelling medium just shows like how distant he is from this world that he's trying to take money from.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he has no idea who these people are that are enjoying his stories, but told through a different medium.
Exactly. I think, yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that you'd have to imagine CD Projekt Red or the people behind the whole idea of purchasing the rights for The Witcher and turning it into a game was that these guys are fans of his books.
Right.
And they create a story, I think, just as good as the books. At the very least, just as good. If not better.
Yeah, I've never read them, so I can't have an opinion on it, but
I mean, obviously I don't have the original books because the original books are Polish.
Right. Yeah.
But
I'm sorry, you can't be a real fan unless you've read it in the original Polish.
But no, they're very well written. There are some chapters that kind of drag on, but that's kind of
that's everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of politics in the books.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like bureaucracy, people talking about strategy and things like that. So it's to be expected. But the book has really exciting parts. It has really heartwarming parts, sad parts. It's very well written. And I mean, I think because I was so hooked on them, I read 6 of them during, at least 4 or 5 of them during my final semester in college.
Right. Yeah.
Because I had all that free time. And then the 6th and 7th, I kind of read, like I would read on the subway because I was taking the subway a lot in the city. But yeah, the whole gaming as an art form thing is, I feel like it kind of will always have that sort of notion that it's not up to par with films and TV shows and books. But I don't know, I feel like anytime there's a good game out there with a good story, the first sort of rumor you kind of hear about it is who's going to adapt it into a film or a show.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like that shouldn't be a conversation anymore. I feel like video games on their own, they're good enough a medium as is. You don't need to validate it further by creating a movie or a TV show.
Well, it does bring up an interesting point that, man, the world's so crazy. So he writes these books. He lets CD Projekt Red use his IP to create these games. Mm-hmm. And then because of the success of the games, a show is being created.
Yeah.
Not because of the success of the books.
Right.
But because of the success of a different medium, which is then bringing it back to like this old medium.
Right. It's the new medium
of a show
with the new story is bringing the popularity of the old story, which is what the show is going to be about.
Right.
So yeah, that is.
Was it a Netflix original series or was it something else?
Netflix,
it's Netflix.
It's Netflix, which is where a lot of hesitation comes from when it comes to some of these fans. I mean, even casting Henry Cavill as Geralt caused a bit of.
Yeah, I'm still kind of.
People are.
I'm uncertain about that one.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. It's just, I think it's hilarious when people are like, he doesn't really have the range, and then the perfect reply to that is, well, Geralt's supposed to be emotionless, so that kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. If anything, it would be bad if he had range.
Yeah, I think basically he's too good looking for Geralt.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can have Geralt be good looking, but the problem is he looks like Superman.
Yeah, and and the whole. I guess that was one of the things it's probably a better call to go with someone unknown, and for this person to be Geralt, rather than have someone come in, some Superman come in and also play Geralt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Have someone that fans maybe it's not what an actor would want to be just recognized completely in one role, but it's like with Hugh Jackman. You see Hugh Jackman, you kind of think Wolverine. You see Robert Downey, you see Iron Man.
Yeah, you sort of get pigeonholed into these. I mean, I can totally understand from his perspective. I mean, I think he's done being Superman now, right?
Nothing official yet, but that seems to be the understanding.
Mm. So, like, I can totally understand why he would want to, and why this would be like a interesting career move for him.
Yeah, for sure.
But
for sure. He's also a fan of the game.
Does not look like. Oh, really? I didn't know that.
He's apparently a big gamer.
Us gamers, am I right?
We're just like Henry Cavill.
He's just like us.
I think there was a story one time he had an audition for. It was a big movie. I can't remember what I want to say it was Twilight. I can't remember exactly, but he had a big audition for a big Hollywood movie. He missed it because he was playing either League or WoW.
That's funny.
Yeah. So yeah, he played the game. So I feel like if you played the games, then you're probably gonna go with that iteration of Geralt, more or less.
Mm. Yeah, I mean that's most recognizable. Because once again, the game sort of popularized the franchise internationally.
Yeah.
So when you told me that you wanted to do something sort of like this, I started writing down a couple of things in a notepad on my phone. Some sort of things I observed in my travels, and if you'd like, I can share some of that with you now.
Go for it.
All right, let me just pull it up real quick. I think, yeah, these are just my general. I find myself in situations a lot where people are interacting in such awkward ways, at least awkward to me. And like I want to laugh or I just want to escape, but you're just sort of stuck there. So the train was coming back home and we had to stop at a station because it was a busy day. So they let off there and then eventually another one comes to take me all the way to my stop. So we were just standing around and there's this guy who's like the definition of schlubby. Like he's like a pretty short dude. He got a big old gut. He's got like a neck beard. Well, like not like a nerd neck beard kind of thing, but like an old guy kind of neck beard. Older guy, probably like in his 40s or so. And he's talking to this girl who's probably younger than I am. I don't know. And so he was like talking to her, like he volunteered information to her that she didn't ask. So she was just standing there and he's like, oh yeah, the train's going to be coming like in 5 minutes or something. She's like, oh, okay. I'm like, and so immediately my ears perk up. Cause like, as soon as someone tries to interact with someone like that, I'm paying attention because I know some funny stuff's going to happen. And so he like introduces himself to her and she's like, oh, okay. And she's just like, obviously not trying to talk to this dude. And so he starts saying to her, yeah, I'm the union rep at the post office in, well, I'm not going to say the town, but so he's saying like he's the union rep at a post office. You know, if you ever need a job, you know, you can just let me know. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like this random stranger, like literally half your age, you're trying to hit on her by offering her a job at the post office. And it was agonizing because I was standing there and he said, I kid you not, like at least 10 times, all in a row. He kept on saying, if you need anything, just let me know. And she's like, oh, okay. He's like, if you need anything, you know, just let me know. I'm the union rep at the post office. And she's just like, she was being a good sport about it. She was being friendly, but like, it was so fucking weird.
That just sounds cringe. Just a lot of cringe.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's like some days I just honestly feel bad being a man just because for no other reason, but just like, man, that happens way more with us than women do it to us.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's just so cringy. And I'll just assume the best intentions and just say he was trying to be helpful. Even in that situation, that's still so cringy that he was doing that.
Well, your description of him.
I was being mean.
I don't know if this. Yeah, I was just gonna say I don't know if this makes me sound like a dick, but that kind of stuff he says, that's just the kind of guy I would picture.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a classic case, and that's why I was paying attention because it was just like, oh, come on, dude. Like he was showing off that he was a union rep, that he could get her a job. Like it's like right away, like trying to be like weirdly manipulative. Like, hey, you can come like work for me. Like, what the fuck?
I'll get you a job if you give me a job.
Yeah, right.
It's just one of those
like
things.
You can deal with my packages. So the second time I was sitting on the train and then this woman comes in, sits down across from me. Nothing unusual.
And you offer
and
a job at the post office.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, baby, you know, if you ever need anything. And that was the thing. Like, he was saying, I'm going to go back to the last story for a second. Like, he kept on saying, if you need anything, just let me know. And at first I was assuming like, oh, do they know each other or something? But no, they didn't. So like, how would she let him know?
Yeah, actually, I was just about to say maybe
if she didn't
give them the benefit of the doubt and they know each other vaguely.
If she didn't let him know right then, she was never gonna see him again. So what the? I guess he was maybe that was his game. He was trying to like get a number out of it, like, oh, just in case you need a job. I don't know.
If you need
but
anything,
anyway,
oh, let me give you my number.
Yeah, like it's always so interesting to see how people think stuff is gonna play out in their heads. Like what their optimal situation would have been, like what he thought, like, okay, I'm going to offer her a job and she's going to say yes.
I'll get her number.
You know, we're going to start work. I'm going to get her number. We're going to start working together. I'll start casually flirting. You know, one thing will lead to another. You know, we go out and get drinks. And, you know,
like,
that's
hey,
how
baby,
I met.
You want some fuck?
Yeah. You want some fuck, girl?
Oh, God.
Yeah, he had a weird, you know, Jersey accent sort of thing too going on. I'm just like, oh God. Although apparently I have, speaking of Virginia, when I went out to Virginia to visit my friend.
Say, speaking of virgin.
Speaking of virgins, I'm Josh, by the way. No, when I went to Virginia to meet with my friend, I think I told you that, but like one of the first things she said to me was like, oh my God, your Jersey accent is so strong.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, what? I mean, I don't know.
That's a weird thing because I've heard that for me.
Yeah.
I think that was like one of the first things in my first like journalism class.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, I don't know if I should say his name, but Dave, he wanted to interview me because I was an American, but not really. So it was it was interesting to him that
right,
because
he said, if you ever need anything, just let me know.
If you ever need a job.
That's the kind of shit he would say.
He would. But he said, like, you know, I would have never guessed you sound like you're from Jersey. I'm just like, oh, that's weird because the only Jersey person I've really ever had in my life was my dad, and his accent's not Jersey.
And I never talked to him.
His accent's not very Jersey. I mean, I've been made aware of what the Jersey accent sounds like because people here watch The Sopranos and they're just like, oh, Sopranos, Jersey. God.
Yeah, people turn into one big stereotype. I mean, but I mean, to be fair, you do sound very American. I don't know if I would say you sound very Jersey.
Yeah.
I mean, you are American, but
that I would agree with. I just felt like I don't know. I guess I don't really, unless you're Tony Soprano, I don't really see anyone in Jersey as having a Jersey accent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's such a big difference between like someone like me and then someone who actually talks like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Some people actually do.
I think you'll
but
hear
not
it
that many, honestly,
words.
Nowadays.
Like there are a few words that kind of maybe will give away someone from Jersey.
Although I think actually multiple people did say it because my friend said it, and I think someone else did say it to me while I was down there. So, okay, let me get back to my train story.
Right.
So, gonna work on focus as time goes on.
Yeah.
So this girl sits across from me, or this woman, I guess I should say. And so next stop, this guy comes on with a bike. And right away, he pulls up and starts talking to her. Like right away, he makes contact and he's just like starts chatting her up. And the funny thing is, like, well, that's the thing. I can never tell because people tend to be friendly when like they're sizing you up and seeing like, okay, is this person going to try to like murder me, or are they just like flirting with me or what?
Yeah, it's a fine
So
line
like,
between flirting and murder.
oh, out in these streets, these mean Jersey streets. Yeah. So like I couldn't tell if she was feeling it or if she was just being friendly to not make this guy like a total asshole.
Right.
Because I feel like it's always a thin line where if the first interaction a guy has with you is that he's flirting with you in public, the first thing he ever does, it's such a fine line between him flirting with you and him just like berating you and calling you a bitch.
Right.
Like if you're willing to do one, then you're probably willing to do the other. So, but it seems like she's like somewhat into it. She's like, okay. And so he's talking to her or whatever. And so he's asking her like, so where are you going? Which is so weird. Let me take a second to talk about how weird that is. They're on the same train and he's like, so where are you headed to?
There's one stop left.
Just wherever this train takes me.
I feel like that's the kind of shit I'd say if I just don't know what else to say. Oh,
yeah,
you're at the same university. Oh, what school do you go to?
That's the thing is like, it's interesting to see how different people are than me. Yeah. Because like he obviously started that conversation without anything in mind. He was just like, I'm just going to chat up this girl and, you know, whatever happens, happens. That became pretty evident pretty quickly because she was just like, oh, you know, I'm going to work. He's like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. And like, there's just a little bit of a pause. And then he's like, I hope they have, I wrote it down. I have the exact quote. I think I was writing it down while they were talking. I can't remember.
You were like a stenographer.
Yeah. I was like, could you repeat that again? He says, I hope they have something good at the food spot today. And so right away I'm curious. I'm like, what's the food spot?
Yeah, aren't there like multiple?
There's a lot of food spots. There's a lot of places. And
man, I want to know where he goes.
Well, you're about to find out.
Ooh.
So she's like, oh. So I think she asked him like, oh, the food spot, what the hell are you talking about? Not like that, but she asked him. And he was like, oh, you know, I'm going to the soup kitchen. I'm homeless. And right away you could hear her turn cold. Like, you know, yeah, her fucking pussy dried up right away. You could tell. Like, just like this unreal quiet took over.
We're gonna get in trouble for hating on homeless people.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm not hating on him.
I know.
Although
my reaction was to laugh at that.
Although to be fair, like, I don't know the homeless. Yeah. I don't think they got together after that. I didn't stick around to find out. But you know, I don't know the homeless experience, but I guarantee you, even if like you shouldn't be ashamed of it, but even given that, if you're trying to pick up a girl and she says she's on her way to work as well, so she's working.
Yeah.
Don't let that be the first thing you say.
Yeah. No.
That's why I'm like, yeah, like say, you know, like, oh, you know, yeah, you don't know, compliment her, say something. I don't know, do something before you drop that bomb.
Well, the thing is, like, he brought that conversation on himself, didn't he?
Yeah, he led it right there, and he said it like, I mean, props to him. He said it pretty like unabashed. He just said like, oh, maybe he was, I don't know, maybe he wanted her to like offer something. I don't know.
Her place.
Yeah. Well, that's once again, it's like you think about like, well, what was the optimal situation in their mind? Like, was he thinking like, oh, I'm going to talk to this girl. I'll flirt with her a little bit and then I'll get like a place to sleep tonight and I'll fuck her, you know, and I'll get some food. So I don't have to go to the food spot. I've never seen it happen. So that props to him for that.
Yeah, it's very ballsy.
That's just such a weird experience. Like, someone starts flirting with you and then in like the same sentence, they tell you that they're homeless. It's like, well, shit, man, what am I supposed to do with that? Oh, and then the other one, it's not much of a story, but sort of like how he sort of, I don't know, he spoke freely. And in a way, I admire that. But in a way, I also think a little bit cringy. Sometimes you got to keep things to yourself.
Right.
So I was getting ready to get off the train, and this woman was on the phone. This one's a little nasty. She's on the phone. It's like a somewhat crowded train, and she's speaking pretty loudly. And she says, I also wrote this down. She said, she was talking to somebody, and she was saying, I thought I got my period, but when I went to the bathroom and wiped myself, there was nothing. Okay. So right away, I'm like, okay. That's interesting to hear from a stranger. Like, first of all, there's multiple layers because obviously you're close to the person you're talking to saying that. And then also you're saying it so loud that everyone's listening to you. Or at least hearing. I don't know if other people are as weird as I am that I listen to this shit, but I'm sure they are.
Well, I feel like that's one of the things that you and I do when we hang out. We just sort of listen to other conversations.
Oh yeah. Well, that's always interesting because I don't know. I guess some people just don't care.
Yeah.
Or aren't aware, or both. So yeah, it's just that. And then she goes on to say, my boyfriend says that I've been looking like glowing, and he asked me if I was pregnant. And she said, I'll know in about 2 weeks, but if I am, this time I'm keeping it. So like in the span of like 10 seconds, I've learned about this woman wiping herself and knowing that, oh no, I'm not on my period. And then also I've learned that she's had an abortion. Like, that's so weird.
I feel like that's usually on what date do you learn about abortions?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm guessing if she's that comfortable with a boyfriend, I'm sure they've been on a couple dates. I'm sure she already knows that he's homeless.
No, I'm sure. No, what I meant was because you've learned this much.
Oh yeah. But yeah, yeah.
It's
I don't know. Some people are just open.
I think it's that sort of. Well, she was talking to another person, like in the train. She was on the phone or something.
She was on the phone. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that still applies. It's just like you're on the phone, so you're sort of. You feel like you're just on the phone with that person. You're not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so weird. That sort of just reminds me of when we were at the bar and that girl. These two girls were hanging out, and the one wanted to go to the bathroom, and she asked her friend to order water and asked if they could split
it. Yeah. I mean, I respect all of these three people much more than I respect that girl.
Can we order water and then split it between us? It's water. It's free. It really confused me when I heard it.
Wait, wasn't she the girl who was talking about tomatoes or something?
No, that was a completely that was a big group of girls. The water one was just two.
Oh yeah.
About, like, this one girl said she had started cooking recently and said she was really good at cooking tomatoes or something like that. Oh man.
Oh my god.
I remember that one really well because I was just dumbfounded. I was like, cook tomatoes. What?
Oh my god! Like,
I could sort of understand if she said she could make a really mean salad or something, but
yeah, but even then, it's like hardly
even that's pretty easy.
Unless you like have to cook some meat or something for it. That's just.
I cook.
And does she eat the tomatoes? But there's so many questions.
Yeah. Well, we kind of need a segue for the end here.
Tomatoes, man.
Next week we'll talk about tomatoes.
Hey guys, what's your favorite tomato? Write it in the comments below.
Cooked, uncooked.
This is the only two kinds.
How well do you cook them? Let us know.
Let us know?
Oh, there we go.
I don't know. Do you want to make some sort of tradition?
I guess this is stuff we probably should have talked about beforehand.
Stay frosty.
We'll work on it. We'll work on it.
I miss the Call of Duty games.
What?
Stay frosty.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, they used to always say stay frosty.
Is it? I just think of Frosted Flakes.
Tony never says stay frosty.
I know. It's sort of like a mix of that and
Stay frosty.
They're great. Oh, right.
Cooked tomatoes.
I just sort of think of that. I sort of think of Tony saying the most interesting man in the world thing.
What?
Do you know the most interesting? Stay thirsty, my friends.
Oh.
So I think
I thought you meant there was a crossover at some point.
No. But when you said that, I thought of him sitting like.
Oh yeah, stay frosty, my friends.
Exactly, that's what I thought of.
It's an adult Tony the Tiger.
Is he not adult? I feel like he's adult.
I mean, like for adults. Oh, is he not an adult? I don't know the Tony the Tiger lore.
Yeah, we need a way to end this.
Did you get anything for Christmas? Oh wait, you don't celebrate Christmas. You don't, right?
No. Only when I was in the
Right.
States.
Yeah, because I don't know. I try not to assume things because you're a pretty American boy.
I did get stuff for Christmas though.
Oh, did you?
My aunt like mailed some stuff over.
That must have been expensive postage.
Yeah, probably.
Riveting conversation. The postage on that must have been killer.
What she used
Hey, Jamie, pull up the
prices for postage. No. So what she got me was pajama pants because that's what she used to always get me for every Christmas. She got me and my cousins and my cousins' friends. All the men would always get comfy pants. So she said that she was.
That's an interesting tradition.
Yeah, she was Christmas shopping and she felt like she just wanted to get me some, so she sent them over.
That's nice of her.
Mm-hmm.
Little taste of the US of A.
Yeah, and I don't know. All of us were always just like, yes, comfy pants, because it was about to be winter. I don't know. We were all really happy to get the comfy pants.
Yes.
Woo!
Oh my god.
What was that?
Oh boy. I think it was just the combination of like wanting to outro and then like talking about Christmas pants for the past like 5 minutes, and you being excited about them. Oh, I'm glad you had a nice Christmas gift.
We can't use any of this.
Oh, we could say, well, yeah, I don't know about that. It's just going to be like a 5-minute audio of us talking about pajama pants, and that's the only thing we can use. Pajama pants and Tony the Tiger Dos Equis.
Oh, I feel like the Dos Equis thing would actually, now that I think about it, it would have been a good way to peace out. It just would have been, yeah, stay frosty, my friends, and it just ended there.
That's sort of what I was trying to do.
Well, in that case,
stay frosty. Yes.
Pajama pants.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you are listening, I'm not sure who will be listening to this, but you've listened to us rattle on for a while about games and whatnot. Let us know what you think.
Stay frosty, my friends.